that was David Barry with Heroes, but really, the Heroes yesterday was the wind at Goodison Park. There was no hero for them yesterday, especially Mo Salah not getting that goal late on. But what's going on, Luke? I mean, at the start of the year, they were in the heavens. They dreamt of winning the Premier League. I'm not saying it's over, but they're now 1 point behind Man City after they were 10 points ahead at the start of the year.
Yeah, I think Liverpool have been turning into draw specialists. I think that's like their 5th draw in the last 7 games in all competitions. It's just lacking that spark, I think, in midfield.
I will ask you to put your mic a little higher and put it a bit closer. Sorry about that, Luke.
Like a Liverpool, lacking that spark in midfield. Obviously, we started with Henderson, Fabinho, and Wijnaldum yesterday, and it's very it's a workman-like midfield. But in that game, you needed Naby Keita or Shaqiri. Klopp's subs yesterday just baffled me. Took off Wijnaldum and put Henderson on to put Lallana on for Mane. What was Klopp thinking? That game still annoys me because I watched the game yesterday and Liverpool were poor. And Van Dijk was easily the best player on the pitch. Made 13 clearances in that game. You could tell Van Dijk every single time Everton got near Liverpool box and Van Dijk was clearing it away. Van Dijk looked annoyed. He looked annoyed. Why aren't we doing anything more? And I think Salah's mentally stuck on 49 goals for Liverpool in the Premier League because he should have finished. I think the one where Pickford made the save in the first half. I think he took a heavy touch just before they took the shot. There was an opportunity in the second half where he could have squared it to Milner. Instead, he tried to do a curler, which Pickford saved easily. But in the end, it was a pretty bad game. Everton don't have anything to play for. If Liverpool don't win the league, and Everton fans are gonna be like, this game stopped them winning the league, sort of thing. But I think Liverpool, I got a feeling Klopp's waiting for Oxlade-Chamberlain to come back fit.
And that when is he expected to come back?
He's due to be back in training next week.
So it's very soon then, pretty much around the corner.
But I don't, because he's the only goal-scoring midfielder. I think Liverpool's midfield this year scored 6 goals, which is poor considering from a team that wants to win the league. And it looks like Liverpool, if we're going to win the league, it's going to have to be the scrappy 1-0s.
I feel like if this was 12 months ago, where Liverpool are at the moment in the Premier League, Mo Salah would have scored that opportunity against Everton, I feel, because he was no doubt probably the best player in the league that season. But 12 months on, it's such a shame for him not to be up there again, really. He's just not showing it this season.
It's like Klopp's put the shackles on. Last season, he's probably gone, we can't go too gung-ho this year. But this is the opportunity where Liverpool need to go more gung-ho. To score the goals. At the end of the last season, Liverpool were beating teams 4-0, 5-0, beat City in the Champions League comfortably, smashed Roma in the Champions League comfortably. And it's he's probably gone. We need to be more compact. And with that, it's sort of stopped Liverpool being that potent force up front. And I think he changed into 4-2-3-1 during the season, and that worked with Salah up front. But I think he needs to go back to that again because I don't think Salah looks comfortable back on the right again. With Shaqiri is playing on that right hand side, but I think Shaqiri's dropped off. That's why we've not really seen him.
Yeah, hasn't done anything since the United game in my eyes.
Yeah, no, not really. I think
and that was December.
He's barely played. In that derby, it should be Shaqiri and Naby Keita coming on, not Adam Lallana and James Milner. It makes me cringe.
So
substitutions.
A sad day for Liverpool. But Conor, we haven't heard from you yet. We haven't heard your voice at all. And it's been 11 minutes.
Oh my goodness,
that's very late.
I've kept quiet and I wanted to listen to what other people have to say about things. Respectfully.
How do you feel? Because you've been saying in all fairness for the last few months that Mo Salah is not having the same effect as he did last season.
I wasn't saying that he didn't have the same effect. I just think that now it's coming into play that he struggles against the big teams, and it's always been that factor for Liverpool away from home as well against big teams that they tend to struggle and not get the results. I can't remember really the last time I saw a display like that from Everton either. I think it was probably the derby itself, the Merseyside derby, back in December, that they performed like that so well defensively. And I was saying that before the game, that the return of Zuma would be a huge difference for them in defence, because it just boosted up their defence. And we have to give credit to the Everton's defence overall, because they were absolutely fantastic. I think pretty much every single defender had a last-ditch challenge to stop a goal-scoring opportunity. I think it might actually have been only Zuma that the only one that didn't have one, because Michael Keane played excellently well. You can see why a load of teams want to bring him in, one of the best centre-backs that England do have at the moment. Dingy played well at left-back for Everton. He's been playing well at left-back for Everton all season, probably the best player of the season. And Seamus Coleman's shown that he can come through the adversity of that horrific injury that he had for Ireland and come back and still be the same player. So credit to him as well, because both him and the rest of the defence had the job of keeping out Salah, Origi and Mane throughout the entire game, and then Firmino when he came on in the second half, and they did absolutely fantastic for them. So credit to them. But we can talk about how Liverpool needed to be more attacking in that game and things like that. But there's plenty of games where they're drawing and they should be more attacking. And I think against a team like Everton, they shouldn't be. I think a team like Everton can, on their day, upset any team in the Premier League and get a result. It's just this season we hadn't seen a lot of it, mainly because they didn't have that out-and-out striker that contributes well towards the defence. Richarlison's still the top goal scorer, I think, or Sigurdsson, and neither one of them has played every single game this season. Tozan isn't exactly the striker that he was brought in to be. Calvert-Lewin's still young and still developing, so you have to give him time. And where else do you look for the goals? You look for Theo Walcott, but Theo Walcott absolutely played terrible yesterday. That's why he was brought off in the second half for Richarlison, and Richarlison came on that right side and basically had Robertson in his back pocket throughout the rest of the game. So yeah, it is. I think you have to give credit to Everton for doing so well defensively, and that's why I wasn't too annoyed by the fact that Klopp brought on Lallana. I thought still, in that case, if you want to go for the win, if you want to go for the title, you have to take risks, and you have to bring on someone like Shaqiri that can provide that little bit of flair in the moment in order to score an opportunity and score a goal to win the game. But at the same time, we saw throughout the rest of the second half that Everton just kept on pushing and pushing and pushing. And then in that moment, you need someone that's going to be disciplined and sit back and defend on occasion. And Shaqiri isn't that kind of player. Lallana is more suited to that defensive role. In order to do that, we saw him bring on Milner earlier on in the game. Milner's been filling in for defensively a lot for the season, filling in at right back or left back, or in a defensive midfielder position when need be. And Fabinho stayed on the whole game, despite having dreadful passes throughout. Henderson absolutely played fantastic for Liverpool yesterday. He thrives really underneath that frantic atmosphere that Liverpool have, and that's why he gets a lot of discipline a lot of the time. That's why he gets a lot of criticism.
I think the one thing I do like about Henderson, which is very rare for me to say this, is the passion is definitely there. He's got that Liverpool blood in him, and it showed last week at Old Trafford that when Klopp took him off, he wasn't happy at all because he wanted to be there.
He is that frantic player, and the frantic players thrive under these kind of defensively needed occasions, but they don't thrive as much in the attacking sense, and that's why Liverpool want to become more an attacking team, and I think that's why a lot of people sometimes are against Henderson for what he does. But I think from it, we can say, after the game, Jurgen Klopp was asked a question about bringing on Shaqiri more than Lallana and becoming more going for the jugular in the game and looking for the win. And he answered back saying this isn't PlayStation. We gotta play for the draw sometimes and get the result that way. I agree and disagree with him on that occasion, because I think he is right that a draw was probably the best result that Liverpool should have gone for on that day away at Goodison. The atmosphere was fantastic, completely against Liverpool throughout the entire game. But at the same time, you're in a title race, and
you've got to win every game.
You've got to win every game, because we've only seen them. Back in January, they were 7 points ahead, and now they're 1 point behind. And when you look at it on paper, what's more valuable in terms of points? 2 draws or a win and a loss, and a win and a loss is more valuable because it's 3 points over 2.
12 months ago, when we actually started doing these shows again for Calon and the YouTube,
he said that Klopp won the league.
I was just going to ask you, Jack. You said it last season, and you don't think Klopp will ever win the Premier League for Liverpool, at least the Premier League. I remember you saying 12 months on that statement. Well, we'll find out at the end of the season if it sticks to being the truth. But you look pretty proud to have said that.
I'm still sticking with the philosophy. I think Joe won't be happy with that, of course, but I think it is true. I said, like you said, I said last year they needed to bring players in, and they did do. Full credit to them for actually bringing in players that they needed to do. But I just there's just something about it. There's just something. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about Klopp being the manager.
Luke, what do you think to that?
I'd like to know why you think that Klopp won't win the league. Because when people say, "Oh, Klopp's not won anything," Klopp's won the title in Germany. He knows.
But that was
what
a long
it takes
time ago now in football.
to win a title. So like when people say, "Oh, Klopp's not won anything," he's won in Germany. Like when Pep came to England, everyone said, "Oh, Pep's not won anything in England." When in like the first season, say, "Oh, Pep's a flop. Pep's this. Pep's that," and then he won
Pep
the
has
league.
won more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he
Actually,
still won. He still
Mourinho's
won
been
a
more
league title.
successful than Klopp, and he's already gone and left you, Man U. So,
Yeah.
and he was at Man U less time. My problem is, I like Jurgen Klopp as a football fan. I think he's great, but my problem is, I look at him over the last few years, Luke, where Champions League final last year didn't happen, Europa League final didn't happen, League Cup final didn't happen, the Man City game back in January, which I know you were still points ahead, but you've got to beat your rivals. Didn't happen. The Everton game yesterday didn't happen. Man United last week didn't happen when United had so many injuries and substitutions done before half time. Yeah, I could talk more. Champions League final 2013 against Bayern Munich. I could, I'm not trying to say he's not a good manager, but I'm just saying he's such a near man, isn't he? He's never actually achieving it though. One day maybe, but
I know.
at the moment,
I think if it's like this next season, because I would assume that if Liverpool do finish second, which I've said all season, that they finish second because I don't think the midfield's good enough. If he spends more money and misses out yet again, then I think questions should be well and truly asked.
Well, what were we saying last week? Because I completely agreed with you, because I've been thinking this for a while, where there's still one or two, well, it might be more than that, where there's players at Liverpool that I thought should have gone ages ago, and I feel as though, like Karius, I was saying, I remember we did that
Klopp
Champions
was
League
ruthless.
preview, didn't we?
Klopp was ruthless about getting rid of players that shouldn't be there, and I thought, well, he got rid of Karius and splashed out big money, because there was rumours saying that he wasn't going to get a goalkeeper, that he was going to get Danny Ward to beat number one, and Klopp was like, nah, forget this, we're spending the big money. But like some players there have Liverpool's outgrown them.
Yeah, but you still got carries on the books, haven't you? Really?
Yeah, but 2 years alone, but he's going to go.
He's not.
Yeah, like a Lallana, outgrown. He's been the club has outgrown him, so he needs to
And
move.
it's funny how it keeps coming to bite him because of it. Because I remember we did a Champions League preview last year, where me, Conor and Joe did a preview in which I kept saying to Joe, Karius could be a problem in that final, and that's what happened. So it's funny how it all bites back. I like the fact that Klopp gives them a chance, probably more chances than they should, but the ruthlessness is just not there, I don't think.
I think in the summer, he's going to need a massive, he needs to get rid of loads of squad players like Sturridge, Origi, Lallana.
You might win the league yet, though. So
I know, but
it's a strange one.
This is thinking in the summer, if Liverpool fall short again, then he's got to change the way that he does things in the transfer market. He needs to stop.
I'm going to have to stop you there, because I disagree with the way that you said that he has to change things, because I think quite clearly since Klopp's arrival, Liverpool have improved vastly.
Yeah.
And I don't think that a need for change in terms of how he does things is required. I agree with you that you need to bring in some more players to add more squad depth, because it's quite clear that you are missing some of your injured players this season, like your Oxlade-Chamberlain, and your defences when they've been hindered, like when Trent Alexander-Arnold missed a couple of games, and Joe Gomez as well. But I think there's an ignorance to ignore that, though, from a lot of Liverpool fans, because it's not in present, it's not in front of them, and I think it's tough to nail on the head, really, because if you took out Klopp, how is Liverpool going to improve? Who are you going to bring in to improve that situation? You're not. And if you do, but you're ignoring the situation, because when you bring in when you bring in a new manager, you bring in new ideals, and it's going to cause a vast overhaul of the club, and you're going to be essentially hitting the reset button again, and then you're going to be expecting results to be delivered almost immediately, and that's why a lot of managers get hindered out and pushed out of the football club in less than 2 years or whatnot after a arrival.
See, that's why I don't understand. But
you don't understand though. From a points perspective of an owner and a football club, if you're a team like Liverpool and you're spending so much money in the window, you're expecting to win the league.
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho never did that at United. That's why he got ousted out. You can talk about your Europa Leagues and your League Cups and your Community Shields and whatnot, but in fact and fact, it's not the Premier League. And when you've got someone across the town doing exactly that in Pep Guardiola,
who can pump millions.
But that's the point. That's the point. You have to spend the millions in order to do it, but you can't have a massive overhaul of the squad, because otherwise you lose your structure.
I do. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Pep, but I love it how there's older players there that are still doing it for Man City before he even turned up. So I agree. Like, you've got to spend the money to get the players.
But Pep didn't overhaul the squad in one season, did he?
No, of course not.
Zabaleta and Kolarov played in those positions in his first season.
And he
realised he needed new left backs and right backs, so he got rid of them. Vincent Kompany was still playing defence in that season, and he brought in John Stones to
Laporte.
In fact, Laporte as well in the January transfer window. Where else can we look at it? Yaya Toure didn't really last that long under Pep Guardiola. Bernardo Silva was brought in not too long after that. He was looking at Aguero for all people to improve upon. Aguero did improve eventually in the end, but Aguero's status at the football club was questioned. I think you have to look at every single situation in any football club and question, is there any number of players in that team that are strong enough to stay no matter what the situation is? And I think if you look at Liverpool, you probably get a handful of players, maybe at the best. That's not to say that a lot of the players at the football club are bad. It's to say that they need to improve, and I think that's the situation at Liverpool. I don't think they need an overhaul. I just think players at the football club need to improve.